you can't really ignore it because of that.
First thing people would say is, what would you look like? You know, and it's this kind of thing of objectification. Let me see you and like value you off of that.
You're putting them on a pedestal. They are the ones that are completely special to you. You know, you want them to message back, but in reality, it's not about that. I completely hated my experience. You're marketing yourself.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's it. You're trying to attract other people by looking at the best features for yourself rather than the honest features.
I just don't think that's normal.
Normal people will find rejection. They will find no interaction whatsoever. And I think it's particularly within men as well.
I'm super excited for today's conversation. We've got Erin and George talking today. And the subject that we're covering today is it's really prevalent. It's such a huge part of young people's lives, but also, you know, all ages really. So we're going to get into the ins and outs of dating apps and what are the pros, what are the cons, are there any safety things that we need to be more aware of? And Erin and George are going to talk a little bit about their own experiences. So hopefully the audience will really engage with what you guys, we're going to be talking real life stuff, you know, so I'm super excited for this conversation. And I think that people will really benefit from, you know, not feeling alone in what's going on really and what people are experiencing through the dating app world. So first of all, let's get a sense of how old were you guys when you first started to sort of become aware of dating apps and how it was going to be an intrinsic part of forming relationships?
For me, it sort of just crept into my life because just like how any media does now, it's growing more. We grew up with it. I think I'm going to say roughly maybe like 13, 12 is probably the age most people know about it.
I think we've always been somewhat aware of it because in our day and age it's a part of life.
It's
unfortunately
everywhere.
It's not necessarily a part of your life directly, but it surrounds you and you're always aware of it because you hear of people who have met others through that platform, and I guess you can't really ignore it because of that. So I think sort of start of secondary school
Definitely.
is
I think
definitely
that's
when
because that's when
it's
the
when
dating
it
pool
starts to
became a
become
bit of a thing.
more of an actual sort of impact on your life because you're wondering, oh, I wonder how it will be when I grow up and I'm able to go on that platform, things like that. Or even you wonder, you know, why do people enjoy that and why do people use those platforms as an outlet almost?
Yeah, so wondering, how am I going to navigate it and start to have those questions of,
will I need it?
Yeah, and if that's something that I'm going to need in order to, you know, have a relationship, then it's probably something that I'm going to need to learn about and know about.
Yeah.
So those questions start coming at that age, I guess. So what were your early experiences then when you started to hear more from your friends and sort of, you know, I'm sure your friends will say, I'm on this app, you know, and you start to really explore it and maybe make a profile yourself. Is that something that you guys had to do on your own, or did you do it with other friends, you know, where you made your own profile and what that felt like really at the time?
I think it's important to sort of acknowledge that at our stage, it has existed for so long that security has been put into place, so you cannot be under a certain age. There are apps for teenagers, are there?
Well, that's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
There's obviously we weren't using apps like Hinge and things like that because we couldn't. But naturally people found a way around it. Apps like I'm trying to think of the names. Like I think one was called Wiz. I remember that was a really popular thing in like year 9 when we were around 13.
It was
Everyone
quite
was using
sort of,
it.
It was a bit of a weird thing to use.
It was labelled as a friend app, like find friends, but no one used it for that.
Yeah.
Everyone used it to find dating partners, and it was, in my opinion, I found it to be a really sexualised app. especially for people who are like 13 and 14. People were, I just feel like at the age of 13 and 14, they were getting really far ahead in relationships. And I think it's because it was a really unmonitored app, and it was recognised as that. Everyone knew it was that. Everyone was trying to get on it, and it was Wiz or Uber. I think those ones.
And I think the fact that now we cannot access Tinder, Hinge, whatnot, is a testament to the development of technology. But at the same time, it creates this sort of future goal almost. Once I reach 18, I want to be on there so that I can meet people. Because within media, you watch on YouTube, I set up a dating profile for my friend kind of thing, or I set up profile for the most random dating apps, those kind of videos that you would watch as a child because it's from a content creator you enjoy, and you almost go, oh, I wonder what it would be like if I was on that. And I think it creates that, it removes from the whole point of that sort of pre-adolescent age where you're needing to develop those relationships yourself naturally. It has its negatives by having it naturally, but at the same time, that's a part of developing who you are, and it's something that we've always done throughout history. It's something that if we remove that, we depersonalize, we disassociate, and what instead we create is a completely antisocial form of dating. And it also implies that dating is one of the most important things, and it isn't. It's a secondary, and some people's life goals are love and relationships, but it shouldn't be forced in the way that an app does. It's important to recognise that.
So it's almost like an expectation.
Yeah.
And also kind of it glorifies those apps, in the same way that sometimes alcohol, when you get to 18, is like, oh, can't wait till I get, because it's this thing that
it's been so built up that as soon as you have the opportunity, you're crazy not to grab it.
Yeah.
But personally, I found that one thing to say is as well that can't be ignored is Snapchat. And it still is. It's not even just by younger people. People of all ages really are using it, but primarily younger people. It's obviously not a dating app. It's a social media app, but it's been really turned into an easy form of dating.
Meeting new people, messaging.
Because you can sort of just add, it gives you suggestions for people to just add, you add them. And there was this trend that people would talk about, where the first thing people would say is, what would you look like? And it's this kind of thing of objectification. Let me see you and value you off of that, and then we'll go from there. And it's this forced version of dating.
And we've all fallen victim to that.
That's the thing.
We've all been at that point, but I guess it's realising that, that's not healthy.
No, I never liked the idea of it.
No.
And I never participated in it. But then, like we were saying with the expectations, a lot of my friends were like, why don't you do it?
You're almost pushed into it.
Yeah, you've not got a partner or anything. Like, why don't you? And it was, it's almost like a forced thing, almost peer pressure like.
Yeah, why would you not? This is something that you can access, and it's going to make it easier for you. So again, it's like that quick fix message that social media will often sell to us. And what I was hearing you say there, George, was that actually the downsides to that was missing out on the organic, interpersonal, learning from each other, and learning what it's like to be on the receiving end of somebody else's difficulties, I suppose, and triggers, interpersonally. We only really find those out when we're in a relationship, don't we, where you find out about other people's sensitivities and your own sensitivities as well. And then when you can really look at that, you can personally develop. When you learn more about yourself and the other person. Whereas in an app, you're kind of going on that person's presentation of themselves.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. It's all about putting the best image of yourself up there. You choose the best photos, you choose your best hobbies, your best jokes.
And as you say, it's easier using, it's not just dating apps, it's social media in general, because social media has turned into dating apps, we find a way. It's a generation now where we're constantly pushing this sort of romantic aspect, but also more of a sexual aspect as well, because I mean dating apps have turned into quick meetup kind of things, and I think it's easier, yes, but the whole point of a relationship is that it shouldn't be easy. A good relationship involves struggle, not always, but generally it should involve struggle, compromise, understanding. And if it's easy and it's quick and you're missing that entire step of getting to know a person properly because they've already laid out exactly what they like, how they like things, who they are, you miss that entire process. And it doesn't just help you with dating, it helps you with being a better person by understanding communication, by understanding how to listen, to speak, and how to actually perceive people and understand that your perception of people aren't always who they are.
That's such a good point, isn't it? That we can only do that, can't we, by being in a relationship, I think, and gain that self-awareness when we see how we impact others.
Yep.
Sometimes that it's the only time when that's exposed, if you like. So we're talking about the downsides, I guess. That sexualization and the image.
Yeah.
I'm thinking image as well.
Yeah, you're not completely open about yourself. I think when you meet someone in real life, romantic or not, immediately you will pick up on a single flaw at least once in your first interaction, and that's important because it makes them realistic and it makes them human. But I think it's really easy on social media. I mean, similar things to like parasocial relationships, is people you don't see in real life, whether it's a physical flaw or a characteristic one. If you don't see that, you immediately put them on a pedestal and it becomes negatively obsessive, and that's really unhealthy. And it's important that people have imperfections because it makes them realistic.
That's such a good point, the realistic expectations bit, that again, this projection of image and this ideal of what a person should look like, but also what a person should be like, and I'm thinking about the impact on anxiety and depression. It is on the increase, and mental health in general, because what I'm hearing here is another version of society telling people, suppressing people in their own individuality, really. It's not encouraging authenticity.
No, it's a very copy and paste generation.
So this is what you should like if you put this on your profile.
You're marketing yourself.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's it. You're trying to attract other people by looking at the best features of yourself rather than the honest features, because negativity or sort of negative traits are what make us human, as Erin said, but that's also what make us actually attractive to people, is being seen as human. Because I think it's very easy to say a lot of negative things about dating apps, and there are positives as well, but I think generally people experience the negatives more because the general public are not built as such, but more they're not supposed to be for dating apps. The general public are normal people. It's normal people don't succeed on dating apps because when you can swipe through, and I've fallen victim to this. I've had experience with dating apps, and I completely hated my experience because of the fact that you completely disassociate from who they are. You're swiping, you're trying to find the best option, but the reality is any one of those people you swipe left on, you in real life, if they came up to you and started talking to you and seemed interested in you, you would go for, or you would seem interested in as well. 9 times out of 10 that would be the case, because these are people who are like us. It's not, as Erin said, you're putting them on a pedestal. They are the ones that are completely special to you. You want them to message back, but in reality, it's not about that. And by going non-stop, it completely detracts from what it means to form relationships.
It becomes a game,
Yeah.
swiping left and right constantly.
It's a fun game sometimes.
Yeah,
but
doesn't it, I think I
the
swear
fact
there was
that I'm calling it a fun game is
there was
horrific.
I swear there was like a thing they found with scientists.
Like a dopamine hit?
Yeah, with the swiping. And I just feel like, I don't know, call me old-fashioned, I just don't think that's normal or natural. That's just not what it's meant to be like.
Yeah.
I feel like, and that's the thing, you're mentioning anxiety on the rise, and I think one of the reasons for that is social media's grown a lot, people are on it all the time, that's fine, that's normal, but I do think that the more we rely on social media for things that require a lot of confidence, like dating, the more we rely on that, the less confident we get in real life, which I think is then causing anxiety, because people are able to hide behind screens. People often use that message for cyberbullying, but there's so many other things for it. You can literally put on a mask of being this really cool, attractive person on social media, but then because you're so used to putting the mask on, as soon as you go out in real life and it's off, you feel bare, you feel nude and really scared, and then people get really anxious, and I think that's where it comes from. And I think that's one of the negatives from dating apps. Yeah,
that's quite a good description of that, isn't it? Because what I was hearing there is that it's another form of impacting our expectations in relationships. So, when we grow up, we're impacted by the adults around us, and we are influenced by, if we're in an environment where saying how we feel is not encouraged, then in adult relationships, we'll struggle. We won't have learned that skill, or we won't have had that modelled if we haven't experienced it. And I think the younger generation hopefully is getting better at that than it was very much, suppress your feelings and don't make a fuss and get on with things. The older generation was definitely sent that message. So what I was hearing is that that dating apps are then putting another layer on expectations in relationships. So not only how I should be, but how others should be. That there's this strive for perfection of how we should be.
It's an ideal partner
in
almost.
Relationships. Yeah. And when we can't, when really we know that we're pretending, any version of that where we're having to suppress our authenticity, there's a whole conversation here about difference and people being different and people feeling that they're not good enough because they're different, and so there's a whole other conversation here that we could have on the different versions of us believing that we're not good enough, which then will feed into that anxiety. It will feed, because on a survival level, we know that we need each other.
Yeah.
So that's why we feel that we have to sell ourselves to each other. So if we feel that we're falling short of these expectations that we're seeing on these profiles, that is going to increase our anxiety.
We'll hide ourselves away. We'll hide ourselves away. We won't like what we're seeing, what we think the people are seeing on us. And it's that level of anxiety that I think is caused by social media. Yeah.
I think it's easy, particularly my parents' generation go, social media caused this. And I think it did, but also we caused social media because the two cannot exist without each other. And that expression of emotion, our difficulties with ourselves, our perception of ourselves and perception of others comes from social media, but at the same time comes from ourselves as well, because in this generation we find ourselves pushing to be better. We feel a need to prove ourselves, we feel a need to be the best versions of ourselves, and we see so much in media that's caused by previous generations. But
absolutely,
it's at the same time, it is due to media and dating apps creating this false narrative that we fall victim to. We are the ones that feel the need to compete against it. We are the ones that actively go, I want to change who I am for these people. It's both a decision, but it's also something that's caused by. And, as you say, I think it's one of those things where particularly normal people, and I keep saying normal people, but that is who we are. We are normal people, but the people we don't class as normal people are the ones that don't have the negative experiences on dating apps, because normal people will find rejection, they will find no interaction whatsoever, and I think it's particularly within men as well, because it's, we can see that within dating apps, men are more likely to be attracted to more women than women are to most men on the dating apps. Mm-hmm. It's why men face more rejection on those. And that's why I think it creates that sort of difficulty within ourselves. But it's all people that struggle with this, and it's the anxiety that's caused that, yes, as you say, stems from our need to be attractive to others.
I think that it's cultural. So when people say, well, social media has been the cause of this, I think you're right that not completely.
No.
That this has been going on for generations. This message of we need to be successful. It starts in school, doesn't it? Where we're sent messages of, if you work hard, you grow up, and you get the house, you get the nice car, and you'll have a happy life. That this is culturally what we've been sold. That this is the meaning of success. This is the picture of success, and that's been going on way before social media. That's messages from. And it's linked with safety and survival. If you have those things, then you'll be safe, and you won't be vulnerable to the world, sort of thing. And so I think social media is just another layer of that. It's just a continuation of that, really, which is exactly what you were just saying.
Well, I think, to play devil's advocate a little bit, I also actually think that there's a weird, I don't know how to explain it, there's an almost a subculture in our culture that's growing, which is that I suppose the best way to say it is things like being oppression is a form of currency now. If you have a reason to be not a reason to be, but if you are someone, say, who has anxiety, or someone who's depressed, or someone from a minority community, there's there's problems that will come with that, and I think that people are starting to use that as a excuse in some ways, and also as I don't know how to explain it, but the best way to explain it, I think, would be that people there's a growing rise of people excusing themselves from things like greatness and like achieving something because of these things.
Marginalised people,
And I think it comes from things like social media. Obviously, if someone messes up and you say to them that's okay, and you give reasons, you're like, this has happened, that's good. But there's an element where people are using it as people are using things as an excuse, like forms of oppression and just forms of unfortunate things in their life, or being part of a minority community, and it sets them back. And they're using that as an excuse. For example, I think that people on social, so people might be anxious. There might be someone who's an anxious teenager, and they'll use a dating app. They'll get rejected a lot of times on there because they're not able to open a conversation. They're not able to converse with someone. They're very almost like a brick wall,
And they blame themselves.
Yeah, and I think that they'll be like, I'm useless at this. I'm really bad. But that's just what I am. I'm someone who has anxiety. This is just who I am. But in doing that, you're limiting yourself. My mum always says that, the more you say that you are, you are. And I think it comes from social media, and especially dating apps. It's odd. I don't know how to explain it. A lot of times
there's almost a balance between expressing your emotion and sometimes just accepting reality and moving on and dealing with it.
People love to talk about their misfortunes, a lot
And
when meeting new
particularly,
people.
yeah, that's something that I've experienced as well, is you find a lot of people expressing instantly exactly, their history, their dating history, things they've been through. And as much as that's great that people are able to open up, there's also a time and a place.
I think it's too soon, and that too soonness of it makes it feel forced.
And I feel that because you've
played up a
already mentioned about all your other interests on dating apps, you almost feel the need to find a separate conversation to create something new that someone's never heard.
Yeah, it sounds like people are trying to find ways to keep themselves safe.
Yeah.
That because the pressure is so huge and the expectations are so huge, people are dealing with that in different ways. Some will really just go for that perfectionism and really overwork themselves and probably burn out and probably, the increase in anxiety and depression. Others will say, like you say, come up with something that's real, but they'll say, well, I'm highly anxious, therefore I can't do X, Y, and Z. But it's just a version of looking at the people that are overworking and thinking, I don't want to do that.
No.
And so I need to. It's different ways of coping with it, I think, actually. But yeah, and I agree completely with you that to a certain degree, and there's varying levels of complexity with anxiety and depression and how people can help themselves with it, which is definitely, if you sometimes are invested in staying ill or restricted in some way because it's too scary to consider something else. So that can be a thing for sure, which I think is what you're saying. I'm really enjoying this conversation. It's great to hear, your perspectives and what's going on really, with you guys. So that's the end of part 1 in our 3-part series, but we will be continuing the conversation, and we're going to be talking about the good things about dating apps as well, and we're also going to be thinking about what you can do in order to use the apps in a way that might be helpful for you. So I'm really enjoying it. So I hope you tune in again next week for part 2.